Well, good morning again. I'm Russell Silverman. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Breast Cancer Foundation. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and the staff and the volunteers who are assisting us today, we welcome each of you to what we know will be an interesting and thought-provoking day. Now, the first order of business is to recognize those who have made this conference possible. Carolyn has already gone through the list of the members of our board, and they make everything we do possible with their work and their dedication and the funding that they provide. Now, no conference of this nature could become a reality without the hard work and dedication of the staff who made it possible. So at least I get to thank them personally. Jessica Parker Kerr puts it all together. She's just does it so seamlessly. Kathy Cruz has been in charge of communications and marketing and is in the back. Kathy can wave. Laura Pilgrim is responsible for volunteers who are helping us today. Laura is also in the back. Sharon Udowitz arranged for the live stream video of the conference so that those outside Miami-Dade County and Broward County can be with us today on the video hookup. We know we have at least one person from Quincy, Florida, which is way up north, somebody else from Tampa that we know about, the pre-registrations, and I know that there was a good deal of information in Jacksonville. So if all of you are listening and watching, welcome to the conference via live stream video. Carolyn has already mentioned the volunteers. They are wonderful. They do a great job, and we hope that you'll have the opportunity to thank them for all the work that they do. As Carolyn mentioned, they're in the pink shirts. And I'm not wearing my jacket because I found out that if I put my jacket on, it's kind of difficult with this hand device that I have to wear. So you'll excuse me for not being fully dressed, but I'm in my pink shirt at least. Any of you who've ever put together a conference know that financial and in-kind sponsors help make these conferences possible. We've identified them in your program, but they deserve to be recognized by name as their contributions are greatly appreciated. They are BB&T, or Branch Banking and Trust, Ackerman LLP, Pfizer, Tamiami Tile, Genentech, and our hotel host, the Newport Beachside Hotel and Resort. Now today I begin with a story. Once upon a time, there lived a great emperor in a great palace stocked with the richest of goods. It was the season of royal visits when kings and princes called on one another and admired each other's choicest possessions. And this year was special because the visitors would see the investiture of the emperor's beloved son, Kinsakuri, as the crown prince of the empire. The emperor had a beautiful bowl, specially made by the finest craftsmen from the finest materials. Imagine his horror when he discovered that the bowl had broken into many pieces. How could it have happened? What could be done? The time was too short to start again and to make another one. The emperor retired to his private apartments with only his beloved son to share his sorrow. The next morning, the emperor woke to the sound of a great commotion. The cabinet of treasures had been broken into. The golden crown that had been made for his beloved son's investiture was gone, along with the broken pieces of the bowl. What was more, the thief had been seen, but not recognized. No one knew for sure where the thief had gone, but he appeared to run off toward the prince's apartments. The doors were locked, though the ministers could hear sounds inside. Would the emperor give his permission for them to break down the door? The emperor was silent for many minutes. On his face was sadness, but not anger, lament, but also love. Leave the prince alone. If he is ready to rule, he must be allowed to act. His will and my will are one. The day passed. The emperor stayed in his private apartments. Those of the prince remained locked, though smoke could be seen coming out of the chimney. Eventually, the ministers tired of waiting and went to bed because the important guests were due the next day. Imagine their surprise in the morning when they went to the treasure cabinet and found the precious bowl back in its place, whole again, but glistening with veins of gold where the cracks had been. Its beauty seemed all the greater, and by it the prince's crown, a slim band now, imbued with the simplicity of strength. The emperor knew his son was ready for investiture. Forevermore, the art of repairing pottery with gold would be known as kintsukuroi. The Japanese believe that when something has been broken and has been repaired, it becomes more beautiful. They say the true life of an item begins the moment it breaks. 40 years ago, 1 week after we celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary, we received the news that Debbie, my wife, had cancer. Like that bull in the story, our lives were shattered, seemingly beyond repair. How are we to manage with 2 young children, ages 4 and 1? At the ages of 27 and 28, how were we to rebuild our lives with the uncertainty of a diagnosis of cancer? Friends that we relied on abandoned us. Debbie's cancer was somehow highly contagious, they thought. And if it was not for family and those few friends that became our caring community, we would have been alone with no one to turn to for help. Today, Debbie is a 3-time 40-year cancer survivor and a 14-year breast cancer survivor. We know what it is like to have your dreams and your aspirations, your life shattered by the diagnosis of cancer like the bull in the story. Many of you have a similar story. Many of us know how fortunate we are when we have someone to turn to in that moment of crisis, reaching out for help and support from our caring community. The Foundation knows that the existence of a strong and active caring community supports and enhances the rebuilding of lives after a diagnosis of breast cancer. Our foundation, as well as other organizations that provide both direct and indirect services and support, are like the gold that helps to rebuild the bowl and make it even more beautiful. Together, we are an essential part in creating and maintaining an active, vibrant, and effective caring community. Together, we work for the betterment of the patient and the family. We make exhibitor space available free of charge for each of our organizational partners. We encourage you to take the time at the break to go and meet each exhibitor. They are Arrow, Baptist Breast Cancer Center, the Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program, or BCEP of Florida Health, Miami-Dade County, Breast Investigators, Cancer Supports Community, Dr. Boob S. and Dr. Boob Z, Force, Heroines, Susan G. Komen Miami Fort Lauderdale affiliate, Miami-Dade College, Photographs by Susan Buzzy, SEER Entity Natural Medicine, Sisters Network of Miami, SOS Dragon Boats, What's Next for My Life, and Your Bosom Buddies. To show that one person can make a tremendous difference in the lives of so many, there is an exhibitor table for Joy Crawford and her shawls. For the last 3 years, Joy has been knitting about 10 pink and white shawls and raffling them off at each of these conferences that she is able to attend to those who are breast cancer survivors. Joy spends her own time and money making these shawls. Each one is a labor of love. She has asked nothing in return. She is that shining example of how one generous and kind-hearted person can make a difference and bring joy to the lives of so many people who she has never met. She is a treasure and has made a positive impact to the lives of so many during these education conferences. Now for the more mundane series of announcements about today's program. We will have 3 speakers before the lunch break. After lunch, we will have 3 additional speakers before closing remarks and our chance drawing for prizes that have been donated just for that. I will try and stick to the times in your program. We already start off a little bit late. Cell phones. Everybody has a cell phone. Please turn them off or on to vibrate. And if you need to take a call, please go outside the room and take the call, not inside the room. We would appreciate that. Our first speaker this morning is Dr. Daniel Weingrad. Dr. Weingrad is a board-certified surgical oncologist and is Chief of Surgical Oncology at Cancer Health Care Associates. Dr. Weingrad was educated at Columbia University in New York and graduated from Harvard Medical School in Boston, Massachusetts. He completed surgical residencies at Peter Ben Brigham Hospital in Boston and was chief resident at the University of Maryland Hospital. He served as a clinical associate in surgical oncology at the National Cancer Institute in Bethesda, Maryland, and completed a fellowship in surgical oncology at the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. Dr. Weingrad is a surgical oncology fellow with the National Cancer Institute's surgery branch, and he participates in clinical trials, ensuring that his patients have an opportunity to receive the latest treatments. Dr. Weingrad is an active fellow in the American College of Surgeons, Society of Surgical Oncology, American Society of Breast Surgeons, and American Society of Breast Diseases. Dr. Weingrad is on staff at Aventura Hospital, University of Miami Hospital, North Shore Medical Center, and Mount Sinai Medical Center. It is my pleasure to call on Dr. Daniel Weingrad, who will speak on surgical oncologist leading-edge treatment for breast cancer.